Have you ever said no, and 5 seconds later found yourself explaining why? You give one reason, they question it.
So you give them another, and suddenly you're no longer communicating a decision. You're asking for permission to make it. That's the trap. The more you try to make people understand every decision, the more power you give them to judge it, challenge it, and possibly change it. Machiavelli understood an uncomfortable truth about power. It also depends on how much you need to convince others that you have the right to act. So why do we defend our decisions to people who have no authority over them? It looks like politeness, it feels like respect, but often something else is happening underneath. And once someone realizes that you cannot handle their disapproval, they may be able to turn a simple no into a yes. Imagine a friend invites you out, but you don't want to go. You could simply say, "I can't tonight," but something inside you says that isn't enough. So you add, "I have to wake up early tomorrow. It's been a long week, and I still have a few things to finish. Maybe we can do something another time." What just happened? You wanted to communicate a decision, but you presented a defense. And there's a major difference between the two. The moment you give too many reasons, the other person can start arguing with them. But tomorrow is Saturday. We won't stay out late. Your work can wait. Now your no is no longer a decision. It has become a negotiation. Not necessarily because the other person is trying to manipulate you, but because you presented your reasons as problems they could solve. This happens in friendships, relationships, at work, and even with strangers. Many people don't struggle to make decisions. They struggle to tolerate someone disagreeing with them. That difference matters. Psychologically, this is connected to our need for approval and belonging. For most of human history, rejection by the group could have serious consequences. That's why we remain sensitive to signs of disapproval. Cold response, an uncomfortable silence, a disappointed look. Sometimes, that's all it takes to make us start explaining. "That's not what I meant. The thing is, just let me explain." We rush to regain the other person's approval. But what happens when someone realizes that you cannot tolerate their disappointment? They've discovered a way to pressure you. They don't need to force you. Sometimes they only need to look disappointed, and you'll do the rest. Machiavelli understood that authority was shaped not only by the power someone possessed, but also by how that power was perceived. A person who constantly justifies every decision may be trying to appear reasonable, but end up looking uncertain. They may want to show that they have good intentions, but instead communicate that they need permission. This does not mean you should never explain yourself. The real question is, who genuinely deserves an explanation? Your boss may need to know why a project was delayed. Your partner deserves clarity about a decision that affects both of you. Someone you hurt may deserve honesty and accountability. But a stranger doesn't need to approve of how you live. A friend doesn't have to validate every boundary you set. And someone who keeps pushing after you've said no is not automatically entitled to interrogate you. Personal power begins with knowing the difference. Think about people who seem genuinely confident. They usually don't need to raise their voices or fill every silence with arguments. They say, "I don't agree," and then they stop. "I've decided not to do it," and they stop. "That doesn't work for me," and they stop. That final part matters. Silence after a decision can feel uncomfortable. Many people cannot tolerate it, so they begin speaking again. They add reasons, soften their words, and slowly retreat from their original position. Without realizing it, they start negotiating against themselves. But confidence doesn't mean becoming cold, arrogant, or irresponsible. Some people use "I don't owe anyone an explanation" to avoid accountability. That isn't strength. It's immaturity. Real confidence means not giving unnecessary explanations simply because you're afraid someone might think badly of you. An explanation can come from healthy communication. Compulsive justification often comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of looking selfish, fear of disappointing someone. So ask yourself, how many decisions have you changed? Not because they were wrong, but because you couldn't stand someone being disappointed in you. Probably more than you realize. There's another danger in over-explaining. Every new reason gives the other person more information to use against your boundary. You say, I can't, I'm busy. They respond, I'll help you finish. So you add, I'm also tired. They say, it won't take long. Then you explain, I have to get up early tomorrow. Each new explanation gives them another obstacle to remove. That's why a short answer can be stronger than 5 arguments. I can't, I'm not interested, I'd rather not. Those phrases aren't magical. They simply don't leave the door open to negotiation when you've already made your decision. Many people over-explain because they're trying to control something impossible. What other people think of them. They want to make sure no one sees them as selfish, rude, unfair, or difficult. So they create increasingly detailed explanations, hoping to control how others interpret them. But it never completely works. You can explain your intentions for 20 minutes, and someone can still misunderstand you. You can do everything right, and someone can still criticize you. You can try to please everyone, and someone can still reject you. A different kind of power appears when you accept that you cannot control every opinion about you. That doesn't mean ignoring all criticism. Criticism can teach you something. A secure person can ask, is there any truth here that I need to address? If there is, they learn from it. If there isn't, they move on. They don't put themselves on trial for 3 hours just to prove they're a good person. One of the hardest forms of self-control is allowing someone to have the wrong opinion about you without feeling an immediate need to correct them. So the next time you feel yourself over-explaining, pause and ask, am I explaining because this person deserves clarity, or because I'm afraid they'll think badly of me? If they deserve clarity, explain yourself. Be honest and responsible. But if fear is driving you, perhaps you don't need another reason. Perhaps you only need to tolerate a few seconds of discomfort. Personal power is not getting everyone to agree with you. It's being able to hear disagreement without immediately abandoning your own decision. You don't need to turn every no into a speech. Sometimes a decision can simply remain a decision, because when you justify every step, you give other people an authority they never had. Have you ever agreed to something you didn't want because you felt guilty after saying no? Share your experience in the comments and subscribe to Power and Human Behavior if you want to keep exploring the invisible rules behind power, psychology, and human relationships. Sometimes you don't lose power when someone tells you what to do. You lose it when you feel you need their permission to decide for yourself.